Okay, in this video I'm going to talk about a really, really important topic. It's something that I don't think that anyone is really talking about, and I try to keep this channel both really informative, really helpful. Sometimes I like to go deep, sometimes I like to just tell fun and joking stories. This is going to be something that I don't want to get too deep into it, but I think it's something that's really important. I think it's affecting a lot of guys, and that is this idea of FEMDOM addiction. It's also tied closely with a porn addiction, and they kind of go hand in hand. Most guys are going to struggle with this at some point in their life. It's something where no one really wants to talk about it because they're either embarrassed or people just, for whatever reason, are not talking about it. So I'm going to go ahead and discuss this, and it's something where I have a lot of firsthand experience because it's something that I have gone through myself, and it's hard because you don't want to you don't want to hurt people and just a lot of people, there's the stigma behind it. So what I'm going to talk about is how I've kind of beat this addiction, because it really is addiction. And I don't think there's really any research on this, but I do know that I feel that, especially when you look at FEMDOM specifically, there is a genetic component, just how there is with alcohol or any other drug. But further, what you have to realize is that a lot of these things in the modern internet age, which is what we live in now, have only been around for several years, 10 years, at the most. So people haven't really learned how to live with a lot of these addictions. And I think that it's really important to talk about them, because I truly believe that porn addiction and FEMDOM addiction is affecting way more guys. Globally, it's probably hundreds of thousands and probably millions, to be honest, globally. So what I realized for me is, when I would engage in it, is basically I would be using it as a kind of safety blanket, so to speak, where I wouldn't want to do other personal development, growth, wouldn't want to put myself out there and have to do work. So I would just end up staying in my room and jerking off, so to speak. And I think for most guys that jerking off is, and I'm going to say that word a lot in this video, so get used to it, jerking off. I think it's a safety net for a lot of people. And for me, I call it the derp state. I would just put myself into this derp state. And the problem is that the more you stay in and you watch the pornography and you watch the FEMDOM, the more it's conditioning you to kind of think that you're worthless, to think that you don't have any value. And then, of course, what do? You go end up consuming more of that because you're feeling so bad. So how do you get off of that track and get onto the other track? I tried a lot of things. I used to have a notebook where I would write things down and then rip the pages out and post them on the wall saying don't do this, don't do that. That didn't work. I did things like delete YouTube off of my cell phone, delete all the social media off my cell phone. That didn't work. Exercising crazy, that didn't work. And I just tried millions of things, and some of them might work for a couple weeks or a couple months, and then I would kind of relapse back, and then you would feel even worse because it's wow, I was doing so well, and now I went back. And one thing that you have to realize is that it's an evolution, and it's an ongoing story. So don't feel too bad when you relapse, and that's going to be the case with any addiction, whether it's alcohol, porn, fast food, whatever. Don't feel too bad when you go back, but realize that what you ultimately need to do, and this is really the way that you're going to cure any addiction, and including how I've beat FEMDOM and porn, is that you have to almost rebirth and rebuild yourself from a very present and centered state. One of the most important books that you can read that will help you learn how to do this is called The Power of Now by the author Eckhart Tolle. And you have to rebuild yourself, read The Power Now, and rebuild yourself from a center of presence. And then you have to evaluate What are the really core values and ideals and things that you really resonate with? And you have to start aligning your life towards those things. From there, once you do that, you're still going to end up having these little relapses here and there. But what you have to realize is you've built this really, really solid foundation, this core self. So then when you deviate out from that core self and you do relapse, now you're relapsing out here, but your core is here. Then you're going to come back to center. Every single time you come back to center, you start here, you deviate out, you relapse, you come back to center. Every time you do that, you're building your center even stronger. So don't look at it as necessarily a bad thing. Every time you're able to get pulled away and then return back to your home, return back to your center, you get stronger. After a long time of doing that, and I can't say how long it could take, it could be months, it could be years, and that's another side note that I will say is that the longer that you're in it, the longer that it'll take to get out. Now, in my experience, and I don't have any scientific research to back this up, but in my experience, generally, the amount of time in equals the amount of time out, meaning however long that you stayed in this addiction, that's roughly how long it's going to take you to completely unwire those circuits that you've made. And I know a lot of you guys that are going to watch this, you've been into some hardcore porn and femdom where you're watching brainwashing videos, you're doing drugs, you're sniffing poppers, you're just completely gooned out, and you may have been like that for years. And you might be into financial domination, you might be into debt, you might be into some really, really crazy stuff, CBT stuff, hardcore torture stuff, super debilitating stuff when you get into it, and your brain is all fucked up on that, where you almost feel like you're self-worthless. You may be, contemplating even suicide because you want to get rid of that. I've been there, and it's really rough. But realizing that, and I don't want to use this to scare people, but time in equals time out. Meaning if you've been in for 1 year, it'll probably take you roughly 1 year to unwire it fully. And so that's something to think about. But once you have rebuilt yourself, and this is the key, is rebuilding your core self, almost as you go through a rebirth, because you've fucked yourself up so much that your core identity is completely resonating with, just self-destructiveness and self-sabotage and just worthlessness. So you're pulling in all these other negative things in your life, and that's what you're resonating with. You have to rebuild yourself, and you got to read the book, The Power Now. I'm telling you, that's one of the most important books. I have a whole lot of books, but you start with that one, you contact me, I can give you a lot more stuff. I have books that I've written, and then we go from there. But you have to create that new center, and then every time you deviate, you come back, you rebuild yourself stronger. What will eventually happen after you've deviated enough times and come back to center, you continue reading and you continue learning and you continue working on this, is that eventually your core gets so strong that femdom, you will not resonate with it. I've gotten to the point now where I will have relapses sometimes, and it could be because I'm just trying to go in a derp state because I'm being lazy, I don't want to do work. Maybe there's something that depressed me and I'm using that as an escape. It's almost always used in the form of an escape in some way. But what will happen now is I will click on one of the videos, and I will just maybe watch it for a couple minutes, and then I'll be like, I don't enjoy this. I don't resonate with it. You need to align with the win-win. And once you do that, that's how you'll beat it. And believe me, this aggravated me for so long, for years, because I would be good and then I would go back and I would go into these states where I might just be fucked up on it for weeks or even months and at a time. And that was going on for years. And I was always just like, I literally don't know how to get out of this. So this is something that I have a lot of experience with. And if anyone, needs personal coaching on how to deal with this specifically, I've scoured the internet. I've never found anyone that really dives into talking about these issues deeply. I do truly believe that on a global level, it is affecting millions and millions of men. And and it's something that is extremely destructive. You can pretend like it's not, but anyone who's really been down that road knows what I'm talking about, and it's really important to seek out help and start correcting these things, because you only have one life to live, and you don't want to waste any more time in this really dark hole. So, you want to talk further, you know how to contact me. I hope this video was helpful. It's a little bit darker, but I think it's something that needs to be brought out there, and hopefully, you know, it can help a lot of people, and we can start talking about this stuff. So, anyway, a little bit darker, but until next time, love making these videos. I'll be back very, very soon. You guys always know how to contact me, and I'll talk to you soon, guys. Be well.